Hello, Richard in Morag. Morning, morning, Pete. Hello, Christine. Yeah, it's not my mug you're seeing this morning. Morning, Marlene and Renik. Hello, Richard and Samantha. Morning, Anne. Morning, Olive. Morning, Tom and Janice. Good to see you. Morning, Jenny. Well, morning, everyone. It's good to have you here, and in a bit of a slightly different format to what you're probably used to. You got to see yourselves this morning rather than this mug. It's great to have you here. Just a couple of notices. The first one, morning, Ewan and Ruth. The first one is this Friday is our last music session with Richard and Morag, or Samantha, as she likes to know. Hello, Bill. And then, so it's the last one as they take a break for July. So if you would like to submit anything, please let us know, and we'll go from there. Then the quiz is on Friday night. If you'd like to be part of the Abbots Hall Pub quiz, then you're more than welcome to be part of it. It's on Friday. Just let me know and I'll help you through the technology. Kay Wilkie is running it, so we're looking forward to that being tested. On that morning, I saw Rena and I saw Margaret and I saw Nancy pop up. So good morning, everyone, and David and Ruth. And the next one is caring for the community. If we could just make an effort just to catch up on people. I know everybody is at the moment, morning Rachel, is struggling with their mental health. If we could just keep in touch with people, just give a phone call, make sure people are okay, just check in. It's really important that we just check in as much as possible. To those people who are sick, I know there are some people that are watching today that have a loved one that's sick or are sick themselves. Just know that you're in our thoughts and prayers during this time, and if there's anything we can do to help, please let us know. The next thing is, you might have seen this week that an article came out in the Glasgow Herald stating something along the lines that the Church of Scotland is ageist and is not trying to take the needs of old people seriously when it comes to coronavirus. That is not the truth. it's an opinion piece. What is happening is that we're really worried about how we open up for COVID-19, after COVID-19, uh, because we're really trying to make sure that people are safe. At the moment, the 2 meter distancing rule is really difficult to enforce, and our best thing is to try to keep people safe. We're really trying. That's at the end of the day, that's all we're really worried about, is keeping people safe. So please just know that there's a group of us meeting, trying to find ways that we can do it safely, and that protects everyone in our congregation. Then some sad news is that Ruth McIntyre passed away on Sunday. That's Morag's mom. And we wish Morag and Richard and all the family our blessings, and we think of them as they go through uh, this time of loss. And yeah, so we think of them, and we thank God for Ruth and the gift she was to Abbots Hall. And we think of her today. And then, as the last notice of today, Happy Father's Day. This is my second Father's Day, so it's a lovely experience to be woken up in bed with cards and trinkets. So if you're a father, uh, Happy Father's Day. If you are a father of an adoptive child, Happy Father's Day. If you're a grandfather, Happy Father's Day. If you, whatever father, whatever form it takes, a single father or whatever, Happy Father's Day. And to just thank you for being a blessing to us all. Great. Right, so today's sermon comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, and it's 24 to 39, and it's a continuation of where we were last week. Last week we spoke about Jesus sending the disciples out, but also telling them to sort of wipe the dust off their feet. They can't control the people around them. Just share the life and the vitality that's coming out of them. And if people accept it, well, people accept it. And if they don't, well, there's nothing you can really do about that. This week, Jesus speaks about like this. He says, as a disciple is not above the teacher, nor a slave above the master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher and the slave like the master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the Father. And even the hairs on your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are more valuable than the sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I will acknowledge before the Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I will also deny before the Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have come to bring peace. I've not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set man against his father, a daughter against his mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. It's not the best Father's Day passage, is it? If I had to ask you what you are scared of, or what you're fearful of, what would you say? I mean, what are the things that you are absolutely petrified of? Now, straight off the bat, I have a confession. I have two, and I don't often tell people these, but there are two. I'm absolutely petrified of heights. I don't know what it is. I'm getting better, but I'm absolutely petrified of heights. When I go to the Lynx Market and you see that thing that goes straight up into the sky and then does loops and all that, I'm like, That's a whole lot of no in one place for me. I cannot, for the life of me, stand heights. And the second thing that I'm petrified of is spiders. I know, who would have thought? I grew up in South Africa, and the spiders in South Africa are a bit like different from the spiders in Scotland. The spiders in South Africa try to kill you. The spiders in Scotland seem to just want to run around your house. And I'm absolutely petrified of spiders. And it's interesting because I'm the least petrified in my house of spiders. So, guess who gets the job of catching them and getting them out of the house? That's my job. And so I absolutely constrained them. Speaking of which, there's a spider just running now along the table where I'm talking of. So, I'm always, when we speak about fear, or things that give us real fear, I think it's also important to note to to speak about fear as being natural. I mean, it's not abnormal to be scared of heights because, well, it's part of what keeps you safe, isn't it? Uh, Fear is nature's way of keeping you safe. And so to be scared of heights or to be scared of spiders or to be scared of certain things is maybe an evolutionary thing, a way that nature keeps us safe. So you get that one side of fear, this kind of natural fight or flight kind of response. And then you get the second half of that. I think there's also a fear that is taught to us, or a fear that we learn. Uh, we can learn this fear from experience. So, for example, you're running and you trip and you break your leg or something, or you fall from something and you break your leg, and now you have a fear of heights, or you fear of tripping, or you have a fear of something to do with that, or you you get stuck in a small space, and so now you have this kind of claustrophobia about being caught in a space, and that's a learned thing because you have experience of it, and so your body has internalized that, your brain has internalized that fear. And so you have that on one side, but you also have this taught fear that we get taught by the experiences of living in community, the experiences of living together. And so, what I mean by that is the kind of ways that people teach us how we should behave or act. And let me put it like this: in South Africa, when I was growing up, one of the things we were taught was swart gevaar. Now, that's an Afrikaans, or two words in Afrikaans, it means black danger. And black danger means it was a way of controlling the population, the white population in particular. And we were told that black people, all they wanted to do was drive us into the sea and kill us. That was what black people wanted to do. And so we were taught to be fearful of black people and what they were trying to do to us. And then, but there was also the other side of that, is I never had a black person in school with me until the age of 13. And, and it was almost quite surreal when they did come to the school, and it was like a whisper and a murmur. Oh, you know, we should be scared. We should be fearful of black people. So there was that side of being taught physically that Swahili, but there was also the the unwritten social codes of black people. And it might not be that we get taught these things just about black people, but we get taught these things about what we value and how we are valued. For example, if you did well at school and you went home with a good mark, you probably got this like roaring applause or, yeah, I'm so proud of you, well done. But if you did the same test and you came back with a bad mark, well, what response would you get then? You might get an upsetness, or you might get into trouble. And so there could be a fear associated with doing badly, or not achieving, or not getting the things you want, or upsetting people. The amount of people I know who are scared or have fear of disappointment, of disappointing someone. so that they just work really hard. And that comes from somewhere. And so we have these kind of things that society teaches us about how we fit in and how we stay within the parameters of what's normal and what's not normal. And then the other side of that is we also get taught what happens when we break these rules in society. The amount, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where a child is being naughty and the parent says, you better watch out. If you don't behave, well, the police are going to come after you. The police are after you. And you've maybe heard it or you've said it. But what that is doing is it's enforcing the role of the police. That the police punish those who are bad and those who are misbehaving, and they'll come get you. It reinforces that. And it reinforces a behavior that is acceptable in society. In this section of Matthew, I think Jesus is talking about the taught fears, the things we get taught from our parents, our society, the things that weigh us down. And the only way I can do it, I think, is by getting to what Jesus is saying, is to paraphrase this verse, or these verses. And so I'm going to paraphrase it, and it's my paraphrase. And Jesus is talking to his disciples here. They've just experienced the gospel that's made them come alive. Gospel means good news. So they've experienced some good news that's brought life out of them. And they just want to share that life. They want to share this joy that's made them come alive. And so Jesus says this to them. If you think you're going to have it easy, think again. Look at my life and the things people call me and will do to me. That will happen to you if you step out of the box or the boxes that society creates for you. If you do what I do, be prepared, because people will get upset. So, when you see it, have no fear. Don't let fear dictate your actions. If it is the right thing to do, stand tall, stand up, be counted. Even if you face death for what you believe is right, take courage. What are you really scared of? God knows your passions and knows your heart. After all, it was God who gave them to you. Would you rather fear what people think or do to you? Or would you rather live, or would you die wishing you did more? Would you rather live with regret, or live a life that is divorced from who you really are? Doing what is right cannot be driven by fear. Because if it is, you will always sit on the fence. And when you sit on the fence, you'll always miss out. You'll always leave it rather than take it up. So again, take courage. Even those closest to you might turn on you. They might say vile things to you. They might not even want to speak to you. They might just leave you forever. Even worse, you might even feel guilty for doing what is right. Again, have courage. Don't let fear drive you. Live in freedom. Jesus is asking in these verses, he's asking his disciples to live in a new path, a new way. What Jesus is asking of them is nothing easy. In Matthew 16, Jesus talks about taking up your cross and following him. Now, we might skip that, but that's a loaded term. I mean, to take up your cross, I mean, if you look at Rome is to take up the burden of what Rome does to people. It crucifies people. The cross is a symbol of oppression and hurt and pain and fear. Rome used that to control the masses. If you wanted to control the masses, you just killed a couple of people in front of them. And so Jesus, when he says, take up your cross, he's saying, look at that oppression in the face. Identify with those who've been killed by that cross. And then, don't be scared to give your life for it. I mean, that is a tall order, isn't it? That is like, I don't know if I heard those words, I would want to take up my cross. But the early Christians did. The disciples did this. They'd heard this good news. They'd experienced this coming alive. They'd been set free. You know that hymn was, my chains fell off, my heart was free. They'd experienced that. And there was nothing that they could do to stop that. Christians were persecuted. There's stories of Nero dipping Christians in tar and setting them alight to be human torches to light the path up to his house. And it was horrific. There's huge stories of mass Christian persecution. But these early Christians decided one thing. They said they were going to be governed. Their actions were not going to come from a place of fear, but they were going to be governed. These disciples were going to be governed by courage. They might be killed for doing what is right. And the other side of that, not only will they be killed physically, they might be killed socially as well. These people, these early Christians and disciples, were leaving their families, leaving the traditions that their families had for generations. I mean, everything was bound into this. And so they might be killed socially for living what had come alive in them, what had sprung forth. And yet they go on doing it. And for these early Christians and disciples, Christianity was not a statement of belief, but was a way of life that might get you killed. And there's something true about that. When life bubbles up in front of you, when life bubbles within you, you cannot hold it in. You cannot, for it to be true, for it to be life-giving, it has to be lived out. You cannot do anything else. When Martin Luther was being accused by the Roman, the Catholic Church of heresy, they told him to recant, and he said, "Here I am, I can do no other. Here I am with all I am, all that is bubbling within me. I cannot stop this." So as inspiring as that is, as inspiring as people were, these early disciples were, it is interesting for me that I think that the same things happen to us today. We have a choice. You and I have a choice. You and I have a choice on how we live. Do we live as fear is our governing principle, or do we live in the vitality of new life springing forth? Do we live in fear of the status quo, or do we live in a new way? So, in my experience, has been that the status quo is something that keeps people in line. What we've been taught from a young age, what people expect of us, what the risks and rewards are. Like, if you step out of line, what are the risks and rewards? And it's because we've been taught them as children. They've been ingrained into us. This is the way. This is what your family expects of you. This is, how you live. And the danger with this is that if we are fearful of the status quo. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of a technical problem. If we are fearful our lives will be governed by fear and not by vitality. Fear robs us of joy. And I'll say that. Fear robs us of joy. It robs us of living a life that is of abundance and a life that is springing forth. If we are fearful, we will miss out. We will miss out on our passions. We will miss out on all that makes us come alive. And we will miss out on what Jesus calls gospel, the good news. We will hide from people. We will live a double life. Friends, the amount of people that live double lives, they have these things bubbling in them. They know what is right. They know that part of them needs to move into a direction, needs to go somewhere. This is where their life, their vitality, everything is bubbling forward. But they are so scared of taking that step. They live this double life where they know that they need to do something, but they can't because they're fearful of what other people will do. I had a friend whose father's a minister, and this friend discovered that he was gay. And it took him an absolute age to own it, because he was so fearful of what his dad would say, that his dad would like disown him. It took him years to come out and say that to his dad. He lived a double life and it almost killed him until he could go nowhere else. He had to live in the vitality of what was bubbling in him, the good news that was in him. And this happens all over. It's not just in sexuality that this happens. It happens in so many areas of life. Fear will rob you of joy. Fear will rob you with joy. You might be the type of person who wants to try something, but you're worried about what other people will think of you. What will they say? And I think that's another fear we have. One of our biggest fears is also what people will say of us, what people will think of us. So we dress a certain way, we behave a certain way, we might speak a certain way, we might spend our money in a certain way, we might stay in a situation that is toxic because of what other people will say. We might stick in a relationship that is killing us because, well, what will people say? That fear robs us of joy. That double life will rob us of joy. And the sad part for me is that we get trapped even deeper. We get trapped even deeper because in order to achieve what other people think of us or getting a good reputation, we get ourselves into debt. We buy things we don't need. We live way above our means. And we get trapped in the fear of losing it all. I don't want to take that step. I don't want to risk it, because what happens if I lose everything? What happens if I lose this or we lose that? What happens if I lose my possessions? Our possessions can rob us of joy as well. On Netflix called The Minimalists. Really inspiring. Have a look at it. One of the things young people do today is they take on debt far too quickly. This is my experience, is they take on debt far too quickly. They want the flashy things rather than wait. And what happens is that in order to maintain a lifestyle, you get on the bandwagon. And this kind of like We have to keep going, keep going, and keep going. And what ends up happening is that the things, our possessions, they own us. And so they rob us of joy. They rob us because we're just so fearful of losing it all. Jesus says, and I believe this, follow the good news that is within you, that which is bubbling within you. Don't let your possessions drive you. Don't let what people think drive you. Don't let any of that drive you. Live in the vitality of what is happening within you. Live into that good news. Do not live in fear. Do not let fear dictate where you are going in life. Whether you are 5 or whether you're 105, fear should never dictate where we are and how we live. Jesus asks us to live without fear. Or let fear not be the driving force that drives us, but rather to seek out the life, to seek out the vitality, to seek out a way that brings other people in. Our life, and this I think is the litmus test. If it's good and it's worthy, is it should give life to others, not just the people who are closest to us. For some of us, giving life to ourselves might mean, and giving life to a broader sense, might mean actually denying our family. It might mean that. It might even mean denying the roles that our family sets on us. You might know that that saying, blood is thicker than water. The reality is that's been chopped a little bit. That's not the full saying. The saying is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Following the good news and what is happening in us might mean we have to walk away. And it's hard. But we cannot live in fear. And this is what Jesus is getting at. This is really difficult stuff. Our life should give life. But it might mean that we have to say no to something else. It might mean that we have to say no to the toxic bits. I want to end with a story from, I hope I'm saying the name right, Nikita Khrushchev. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. Nikita Khrushchev. And Nikita Khrushchev said this. Nikita Khrushchev, was the premier after Stalin. And Stalin, as we know, committed terrible atrocities. And he was going on, he was saying, in a speech in front of a crowd, he was saying that I disagreed vehemently with the policies of Stalin. I think we should come back and do new things. I was against it. I did this, I did this. And someone heckled him from the crowd and said, yes, but you were part of Stalin's inner circle. You knew what was going on. Why did you not speak up? Nikita stood up and said to these people, who said that? Who said that? Everybody looked left, everybody looked right, but the person who said it was nowhere to be found. Nikita said, that's why speaking up is hard. But we cannot be lived with in fear. Fear will rob us of joy, and it will rob those, especially around us, of joy. So Jesus, I think, in this section is saying, don't let your life be dictated by fear. Live a life not dictated by fear, but one that it lives by doing what is right. So friends, I pray that as we go from this place, that we would discover that. that life will spring forth from us. That we will not live lives of fear, but we will live lives that are lived abundantly, that discover what is right, and in so doing, bring life. May God hold you and keep you, and make his face to shine upon you. God bless.